good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I'm Mona Dalmia. I'm the co-founder of DLRC. And I'm here today to have a little workshop, sort of a dialogue with all of you on resilient parenting. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so before we begin, I'd like to put out a disclaimer that this is not a presentation. It is a complete dialogue because I can see that all of the people attending this session are all parents. So today we're just going to dialogue about this idea of resilient parenting. You know, why it's important, what can we do, etc., etc. So don't expect a presentation and don't expect advice, because these are the things that should come from us. Only then they're effective. So with that, I'm going to start. I can see there are 32 participants. Thank you. That's a great number of participants. I'm going to start off with, what do you think resilient parenting means to you? So this is just a warm up. What are your ideas about resilient parenting? Anybody
Patience
can? Patience, to have patience with our children.
and
Okay.
ourselves at times.
And us, of course. Thank you. Yes. What else?
Persistence.
Persistence. Persistence in what?
Kids have a very good skill. They're persistent for what they want, and they keep at it. So if we want to groom the children in a certain way, I think we give up soon. So to be persistent with our ideas and not to give up too quickly.
So is it, are you saying being persistent in giving opportunities?
Yeah, giving opportunities also, and probably inculcating a few things as well.
Okay, inculcating what?
Inculcating certain it could be even morals, it could be behavioral changes.
Okay, certain values.
Yeah, values. Yeah,
Great, thank you. What else?
So yeah, hi, this is Tilottama Datta Sarkar, and I think self-compassion is very important in being a resilient parent.
Self-compassion.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, thank you. What else?
Thank you.
Let's come up with 3 more things. What do you think resilient parenting means?
Having faith in ourselves, in the child, and in his future.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Be able to handle setbacks.
What kind of setbacks?
With a flexible or with an open mind.
Okay, with an open mind. All right. And one last.
And I guess let them realize that they have their own personal space.
Okay. Well, I don't think we need this workshop. You guys are already resilient parents if you're doing all of this. Okay. Anybody else wants to add anything?
Not to get not to get bogged down with what is happening around, and trust your own child, I would say.
Okay, trust your child. Great, thank you. We'll come back to this slide a little bit later in our presentation, but so this response is all from you. Have patience with your children and us. Persistent in inculcating certain values, which means keep at it, don't give up. Or self-compassion, having faith in us and in our children. Okay, be able to handle setbacks with an open mind. Let them realize that they have their personal space, and trust your child. All right, great, thank you. That's a wonderful start. So I want to talk about, so when we talk about the word resilient, of course the 2 other words that naturally come to our mind is adversity and failure. Things, we are all on this earth, life is a gift and we're all living it. The idea is to thrive, right? Idea is not just to live. And that's why we are all here today, is to how to thrive in our relationships with our children, because it is one of the most special gifts that we have. All species are meant to be on this earth to procreate, to have more of our own kind. But just to procreate isn't enough. To create individuals, to help them build, to have the capacity to create further wholesome individuals is the goal, isn't it? And for us to also lead a wholesome life. So just a small thing that I came up with this morning is, what is adversity and what is failure? Adversities present a situation, right? Anything can happen. We are driving by, an accident can happen. That's really big. But you know, there are several adversities which happen. Things don't always go the way we want. That's an adversity. Sometimes we don't succeed in doing what we want, what we wanted to do. That's, we label it as failure, right? So adversities present a situation. And what is failure then? Failure is lack of skills to deal with that situation, right? If we were already acing the situation, then we already know how to deal with that situation. But why do we fail? We fail because, not because there is something wrong with the situation, but or because of such things, but because we at that time may not have the skills to deal with the situation. And so what? So what, right? So when we are saying that we lack skills to deal with a certain situation, I think it only means that it's time to grow. It's time to acquire that skill, which will help us to move from failure to success. And this is actually what we call a challenge, right? When we are faced with a challenge, why are some people able to navigate their way through it, whereas some of us are able to not? What is it that stops us from going around the problem, or going about the failure, or coming out of it as a winner? What is that? It is just a lack of those skills, right, to deal with situation. And that one huge thing is actually called resilience. So resilience is actually described as the skill through which we can cope with any situation and bounce back or find new grounds, right? Can you give me any examples in nature which are great examples of resilience?
A seed.
A seed. Okay, elaborate, please.
Yeah, actually, uh, every tree blossoms, and then it grows fruits, and then at the end it will become a seed. And when this seed again went into the uh, soil, it grows again as a
Correct.
new tree.
Correct. Great. Thank you for that example. Any more examples from nature?
I think the whole process of evolution itself is resilience. That you
Wow.
tested, and you grow stronger from it. So the next generation, in that sense, uh, comes out because the gene pool is stronger and it's selected that way. If you believe in the Darwin theory.
Of course, very much so. We have no reason to not believe it. Right? Great. Any other examples?
I can think of this one, like the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. No humans,
Yes. Oh, yes.
no humans can be there, but the forest and the animal life is thriving.
Yes. You know, related to that are all the forest fires. You must have heard this story, right? When a forest is burning, like the Australian forest fire we had, or, you know, many forests, they burn. When they burn, of course, we see it as an adversity because, oh my God, the forest is burnt. But do you know, in every forest, the nature is so smart that the big trees, they can't have more of their own kind in the forest situation because there's very little light for the seed to grow, right? But they do drop their seeds, and they put a very special coating on their seeds which helps the seed to live in a dormant situation for a long time, even hundreds of years sometimes. But when there is a forest fire, interestingly, all the big trees, they get wiped out, right? Then what happens? The seed which was dropped by the trees, they have a chance to grow. That's resilience, isn't it? And a new forest comes out. We see this again and again in nature, right? There are many more examples. I'm waiting for one more example. Let's see.
May I?
Yes, of course, please. It's an open forum. Please talk.
Yeah. Plants usually grow towards light. Wherever they find sunlight, they grow towards that direction. So that's kind of mechanism that they show, being resilient.
Correct. Hope. Looking towards hope, right? Because
Hope.
sun is hope for them.
Yeah.
Right. What about rivers? Anyone wants to connect resilience to rivers?
Can we say rain as a one example?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it we know the process of evaporation and then turning those vapor into clouds and then coming back to the earth as a rain and then
Yes.
again meeting it to the sea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And all rivers, all rivers are so resilient. When a river flows, does it stop? Can any obstacle stop a river from flowing? What does a river do when it encounters an obstacle?
Changes flow.
It changes its flow, it changes its path,
Cool.
right?
Yes.
But it continues to flow, right? The goal is to meet the sea, and the goal is to nourish everything that's on the way. These are the qualities of being resilient. No matter what, we continue, but we don't just live, we don't just flow. We give, we thrive as we flow. That is really, really important. As a parent today, it's not enough to say, I am going to persevere with my child. I am going to, flow like a river. I'm going to overcome all the obstacles that come in my way. Yes, that's very important because our children increasingly are dealing with more and more adversities every day, right? When we were growing up, we had fewer adversities. There was mostly one parent at home. The issues were not as complex as they are today, but our children are dealing with way more complex issues than we did. They need more persistence, they need more perseverance, they need more skills to deal with what they are dealing with every single day. And we are the parents. So when our child grows, we take care of the child up till the time when the child needs to go to school. Then we send the child to school. Why do we even send the children to school? Because when they are with us, we are giving them whatever we can. Then we want them to learn about the world, so we send them to the school, right? Then the school is supposed to teach them certain things. The ultimate goal is what? The ultimate goal of bringing a child into this world, by educating them ourselves, by sending them to school, then what? What are the children supposed to do that? What's the ultimate goal of doing all of this? What do you think?
To make them capable enough to, have an earning, be independent.
Independent to do what?
To survive.
To survive. How? So what do you expect a child to have when they grow up, when they're out of college, when they're on their own? What's going to happen with them?
To imbibe good values in children so that they are good human beings, and in turn they can also take on life well.
Okay, what does that mean, take on life well?
They can deal with all the challenges and grow out of it.
Okay, that
and be
is
happy.
right. And be happy, correct. So if you know that children are going to be on their own at some point in their life, right? We are not going to be there for them all the time. They are going to live on their own. They are going to face adversities. They are going to failures. They're going to face failures. They're going to face new situations, new challenges. They're going to meet new people. They're going to find a new job. They're going to find a new life partner. They're going to become parents themselves. So to enable them to live a fulfilling life, which has all of these things, what do we need to give them today so that they can have all of that? That's what we are trying to figure out today.
Confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a bird that flies from a nest. Eventually, as parents, we are giving them wings to fly, where they'll be able to handle challenges and be on their own.
Absolutely.
And one of the other examples I just wanted to bring up of resilience, I'm sorry I'm bringing it up now, is the current pandemic times has been a test of resilience for everybody all around the world. And it has shown how humanity can thrive in such extreme conditions, and has given us ways to think of alternatives of doing things, just like the entire school year that went through in an online forum.
Yes.
Brilliantly. So
Brilliant.
I think that's a very good example that's relevant to all.
Absolutely. And even in this pandemic situation, where even if you look at it just from the children's point of view, right, they all had to undergo online learning. Everybody throughout the world. It's not just for a small group of kids, right? But then how come some kids were able to navigate through it and some couldn't? Not that there's anything wrong or right. I'm not even talking about that. But what were some factors that enabled some children to navigate this adversity? Let's keep that thought. I'll go to the next slide to continue our dialogue. Okay. These are some things. I just made a very small list of some adversities and failures some children deal with. Not all of them deal with all of this, but some children, we know, they deal with parents who are not well, right? Many children deal with poverty. Many children deal with violence in homes and in neighborhoods. Well, negative scripts from parents and others. What are negative scripts? You know, we always, many times we find ourselves saying, why can't you do this straight? Why can't you have more control on your hands? You're always spilling things. Why can't you keep your rooms in a neat order? Why can't you put your books properly? Why can't you organize? Why can't you be on time? Why can't you wake up in time? Why are you always late? All of this is negative script, right? Why won't you listen? I'm talking to you. All of us find out saying all of these things to the children, right? Yeah, these are all negative scripts which come from parents, they come from teachers, they come from coaches, they come from other elders in their houses. Yes, children go through bullying a lot in school, a lot. Yes, then they go through poor grades, they go through reprimands. Again, why don't you study? You know, you're supposed to study. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. Why aren't you able to do it? And so forth. If you don't do well, you won't go to the next grade. You're going to stay in the same grade for the next 10 years and so forth. I'm sure many children hear a lot of this stuff, right? Many children are going through mental and physical health issues, especially in the pandemic, like you said. You know, many children went through a lot of social and emotional turmoil. Because why? That's another thing. Why? Why do children go through these things? Is there a void in parenting? What is it that's not there because of which children go through these things? Then there are social issues, right? Friendship issues, peer-to-peer issues. They don't know how to make friends, or they have too many friends. You know, they are never home. So many such issues our children are dealing with every single day. Okay. Now I'm going to bring out 4 stories for you. And we are going to talk as a group, as a whole group. So here's my first story. I can either invite somebody to talk, read the story, or I can read them for you. Maybe I'll just read them. So, okay, a 9-year-old Arya came home from school in tears and sobbed to her mother. These Zoom things. Sobbed to her mother that some of her friends refused to sit with her at lunch, telling her they did not want her around. Arya was confused and distressed and asked her mother what to do. The mother, feeling anxious, immediately replied that Arya should tell the other girls that if they did not want to play with her, she did not want to play with them. Right? This happens. I'm sure we've all heard all of this. So here are my 3 questions for you. Why do you feel that Arya is going through this problem? That's number 1. So we know Arya is going through a problem that her friends don't want to be with her. Why do you think she's even going through this problem? Anybody wants to share?
I think sometimes there's a groupism that happens, and
yeah,
all it's supposed 4 friends are there, 3 get onto one side, and then they outcast the 4th one.
So that's a social issue, right?
Yeah.
them that children are facing in their school lives every single day, even in our societies when they go down to play, this is happening, right? They are excluding kids, right? Okay. Now, when you're looking at the parent here, is there a problem here with parenting? The mother telling her that child, just go and tell them that if you don't want to play with me, I don't want to play with you. Do you think there's a problem with parenting here?
Yeah, I think instead of suggesting a direct solution, there could be a conversation around it as to, you know, why she thinks, why Arya thinks, like, you know, the parent can ask Arya about, you know, what does she think about it? How does she feel about it? And what are the reasons probably she thinks that, you know, they don't want to play, you know, and then take the conversation forward and asking her what she thinks she wants to do about it, and, you know, taking it further. That can be one way.
Okay, and suggest an alternate solution to Arya's problem. So, what do you think could be an alternate solution to Arya's problem? The solution that the mom gave was tell them and do this. But like you rightly said, that, you know, the mom could have given her time to listen. She could have listened to what Arya was saying. She could have sat down with her, had a dialogue with her, right? Is that what you're saying, Nikki, right?
Yes.
Is there an alternate solution that you can suggest or anybody can suggest?
Maybe ask them, you know, that, you know, why do you want to not do it, or why do you want to not sit with me? So maybe sometimes, you know, sometimes asking, you know, why also helps, I feel.
Okay, so if the parent had done this, if the parent had asked Arya, please go and ask your friends, why do you not want to sit with me? What would the parent have done for Arya?
The parent could have opened a dialogue between the kids.
Yes, that's number one. They could have opened some communication channels between the children. What skills would you think a parent? Go ahead.
Also, the parent is teaching the child how to find a solution to the problem instead of just giving an ultimatum.
Great. Yes. So guiding the child to try to solve their own problems, right? Not that we don't want to be involved in their problems, but ultimately they're the ones who will need the skills to solve their problems as they come along, right? Okay.
Yes.
Let's look at another.
One thing I'll add here is maybe also suggest that, look, you're not alone, Arya. You're probably new to the school and your friends don't know yet. So give them some more time, and be patient. Keep at it. And I'm sure one day one of them will come and talk to you. Don't give up so soon. This has happened to me as well. So trust me, it will all work out at the end. So just give the child some assurance and reassurance and
All
honor.
right. Wow. Great. Thank you. All right. So let's look at another story. So that's one thing you have to all remember is listen, not hear. You know, there's a difference, although they both may mean the same thing literally, but they do mean different things. When we hear something, we could hear so many things. I can hear the sound, the construction sound. I can hear some children playing downstairs. I can hear the bird. But what am I listening to? I'm listening to your responses, because with my mind and my heart here, I'm listening to you, although I'm hearing a lot of other things. So when we are talking to our children, we have to remember the difference between hearing and listening. That's really important. Okay, then there's another story. Advait's parents couldn't understand why their seemingly intelligent 7th grade son experienced so much difficulty completing his homework. Advait was athletically gifted, but had a long history of problems learning to read. His parents, observing his lack of interest in school activities, believed that he could do the work if he put his mind to it, and frequently exhorted him to try harder. They chided him as to how awful he would feel when he was not accepted into the college of his choice. Now, this is what we talked about, some of these situations, right, that children are facing. Which of these do you see here happening?
Poor grades and reprimands.
Negative scripts and
correct. Negative script, poor grades and reprimands, right? Correct. So what would you do instead? What would you have done instead? So there are lots of clues here. Look, Advait's parents. So here it's given. So the first clue is that he's athletically gifted, but he's had a long history of problems learning to read. There is a clue, right?
Huh?
So basically, we need to figure out, like they have said, there is a lack of interest in school activities. Okay, so the interest is focused in other activities, and the parents want that the interest should be focused in school activity. So the disconnect is here, and hence they are pressurizing, saying that he should put his mind into it. Maybe the parents. So this is the problem with the parenting. Maybe the parents should encourage him in the area where he's doing well, like athletics, so that he is happy about the achievements there and feels that he should focus on the studies also.
Okay. Do you see a disconnect here where it says he's had problems learning to read for a very, very long time?
Yes.
What is the gap that has been left by the parent here?
I think maybe this is my perception, that because he is a slow reader or something, the parents have ignored that particular section.
But should that have been ignored? No, because see,
history, long history means since it was ignored, it persists.
Right. But could that have not become a history if the parents had also done something about it, right? See, the thing is, we are putting our children in schools.
Yes.
Now, what is happening in schools? Academics is the most important thing that's happening in schools, right? If there is time apart from academics, then extracurriculars are happening. But what is the most important things that are happening in schools is academic. If we are choosing to put our children in a school, which is an academic school, and if we do not give the skills to our children to succeed in that environment, how can we hold only our children responsible for it?
Please come again.
So if we are choosing to put our children in a school where academics is the focus, right? All schools, academic is the focus, unless it's an art school or a sports school. So we are making a choice of putting our children in a school where academics is the strongest.
Correct.
So for our children to be successful in that situation, do you not believe that we need as parents to give them certain skills so that they can be successful there?
Correct. So maybe proactively reading to them at night, or developing that liking towards reading and all should have been worked by the parents.
Done. Absolutely. And that would have been resilient parenting, because we're not only understanding what your child can do or cannot do, even that is important. What your child cannot do, and if what they cannot do is so important that is occupying 8 hours of the day, then we as parents need to intervene and find ways of making them good at it, or not reprimand them, right?
Agreed.
If not we, then who?
Correct.
Okay. So we must nurture islands of competence in our children, but we cannot ignore what is causing incompetence in our children. That's really important, right? We can't hold anyone responsible if we have not been there for them, if we have not worked on their skills. If we put a child to go and play soccer, if we put them in a soccer club, but they don't have the ability to run, what would be the first thing to do? Is to train them to run. So if you're putting our children in schools where academics is important because we want the children to go through that, don't we need to also enhance their skills to be successful in schools? So to understand what our children need is really important. All right, then there's the third story. Arya, a 12-year-old, became frustrated while attempting to build a radio from a kit and walked away. His father, who had been working with him for over a week, responded angrily. I told you it wouldn't work. You do not have enough patience to read the directions carefully. Now, what kind of a situation is this child in? Again, if we go back to this list here, what do you see here happening?
Negative scripts.
Totally, right? But tell me something. If this father is spending time with this child who's building a radio, and the father seems to be there, is it okay for the father to respond angrily? What could the father have done differently here? So this is
maybe maybe at the beginning, because the father was already there with the child, maybe post post the thing is done, I think if before it was done, it could have helped the child to do it better. So giving the instructions, or maybe whatever at the beginning, it would have helped.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe
all right.
they could have read the directions together carefully.
Together. Yeah. Could have been there, right? So the thing is, if we are not there for our children, do we have the right to get angry with them? Does a 12-year-old have the skills to navigate this situation? If the father doesn't have the skill to navigate the situation, can the child have the skill to navigate the situation? And what has the father role modeled in this situation to his child?
That you're not good enough. He's told the child negative script.
Yes, he has role modeled actually that I am not good enough. The father is not good enough.
And he shifted blame also.
Shifted blame, right? Do we see this happening in our lives? Like sometimes we do this unintentionally, but it does happen sometimes, right? Why do these situations happen? That's another important thing to talk about. So what do you think? Okay, so let's look at this father. What do you think what could be some possible reasons why this father responded the way he did?
Well, one reason could be the father and his surroundings. And the way he's being treated, maybe at his workplace or by
his baggage.
Right?
His baggage,
His baggage. Yes.
His baggage. Number one, we all have baggages, right? When we transfer our baggage to our child, right? That happens, right? Okay, so that's number one, his baggage. What else?
Maybe the activity that was given was over the age of the child.
Oh, it was too hard for the child, maybe. Okay, so the father. Why is the father getting angry? But then,
He's feeling he's failed, probably.
who's failed, the father or the child?
The father, because he should have been able to do it or guide his kid to do it.
I think the father is expecting an output which he's not getting.
Disappointment.
He's disappointed.
Disappointment. So disappointment, carrying a baggage. Maybe he's had a really long day, at work.
Yes.
Right? That can happen. The stress that we all talk about. We say the word stress just like that, as though it is an invisible word. But no, it's such a real word, right? All of us are going through so many different stresses. Maybe he's had a stressful day. But what do? We bring our baggage, we bring our stress, we bring our disappointment. And where do we throw all that at? On our children. No, I've had a frustrated day. I'm going to throw it on you. I'm going to shift blame. You are unable to do this. Well, I'm also unable to do it because I'm not able to find the time or the bandwidth to sit with you and navigate through this situation, right? Maybe if the father had done that, then maybe this whole situation might have been turned around. Okay, so to be a resilient parent, we must remove negative scripts from our conversations. Okay. Then there's one more story, but I can leave that story and we can move on. Okay. We'll have a quick dialogue over here. I'm going to stop screen share. It's story time. All of us growing up, right? We've all had different experiences. We've grown up in joint houses, maybe nuclear families, whatever the situation was. Can anybody share here a story where your parents have shown resilience?
When I was learning cooking from my mom, she used to stand next to me, and it was very fearful that, what if I went wrong? And she used to always just tell me, like, you have to just do it. If anything goes wrong, I'm there to sort it out for you.
Okay.
So that is something that I remember as somebody, like, who gave me the courage and confidence that, at least go ahead. Like, she didn't scare me to do what needed to be done.
So she showed hope in you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Darshika. Another story here? Anyone?
Yes, I actually want to share a story about my daughter, Arya. Okay, so as in, as the first story went, she was also going through a lot of bullying, and I wanted her to sort it out by herself. So I did not interfere, but it led to a level that I really had to interfere and go and speak to the child's mother and tell her that this is not happening right, and then things got sorted out. But I felt that I gave her a lot of time to solve it, and it became a burden on her. So it was too much for her to handle, basically. So I thought that my intervention in this situation was a little late. So I really, I went ahead and I said sorry to her, that sorry, I did not realize what you went through. And I think that situations are better now, and now you can go ahead and start speaking to that friend normally. So sometimes these things happen, that our we somehow fail to gauge the situation, and we want our child only to manage it, but sometimes we really need to interfere, I feel.
Okay, all right, thank you for sharing, Parul. Okay, anybody else? One more story we can have about your parent. How share a story when you saw resilient parenting in your parents.
So, ma'am, I stay in Nepal. My parents stay in Nepal, and there weren't very good schools when I was young. So at the age of 6, my father wanted to send me to a hostel. And I come from a Marwari community. So literally everybody over there, they were against. They were like, blaming my father just because he wanted to get rid and stuff like that. But in spite of all that, he fought. He got me admission. And today I cannot thank him enough that I've studied in one of the best boarding schools of India. So he really had to go through a lot, be it my current family, the society, and everything. So I thought that was being very resilient to literally fight with such a big community.
Wow. Great. So growing up, we have all seen, somebody's raising their hand, is it? Okay. All of us have seen some, we can all share examples, right? So great. Thank you for that. I'm going to show you a very short movie. But this movie is actually a very common story that you must have seen it on WhatsApp. And we've seen it, we moved on, and it's like, oh, wow. But I want to have an activity based on this movie. So I'm going to show you a movie. All right. So what I want you all to do is, as you watch this movie, don't watch it for the literal meaning of it. Okay. After this, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, and you will have to talk to each other about 5 things that you notice about the parent in this video. So you must watch the video from the parent's point of view, putting yourself in that parent's position. I'm sure you've all watched it, but still again today watching it from a different perspective.
และสับปะรดฉันไม่ได้เรียนหนังสือไม่รู้ว่าต้องพูดต้องสอนแบบไหนฉันรู้แค่ว่าต้องทำให้ดูให้เขาเห็นเป็นตัวอย่าง
ยังไงล่ะอร่อยกว่าไอติมอีกใช่ไหมจ้าแม่น่าทำขายนะแม่เนาะไอติมสับปะรดนะคะไอติมสับปะรดนะคะไอติมสับปะรดนะคะไอติมสับปะรดนะคะแม่ทำไมไม่มีใครซื้อเลยอ่ะงั้นลองไปดูที่ตลาดว่าเขาขายกันยังไงพริกไหมจ๊ะกล่องละ5 3กล่อง10จ้าปิ้งจอมครับปิ้งอร่อยครับปิ้งจอมครับจ้าพริกกล่องละ5นะคะ3กล่อง10จ้าสับปะรดไหมคะสับปะรดที่ร้านไหนคะไม้ละ5 บาทค่ะ3 ไม้10 บาทนะคะสับปะรดไหมคะ
พอเห็นเขาได้สังเกตได้ลองทำเองวันนี้ฉันสบายใจแล้วที่เห็นเขาทำได้แบบนี้และมั่นใจว่าวันข้างหน้าถ้าไม่มีฉันเขาจะยืนได้ด้วยตัวเขาเอง
Okay, so we watched, I'm sure many of you watched this video, like I said earlier, it's not about the video, it's not about the story, it's about looking at it from the parents' point of view. So I'm going to now create breakout rooms and I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. In your breakout rooms, please discuss 5 things that you noticed about the parent. I'm only going to open the breakout rooms for like say 5 minutes. So have a quick discussion, we come back and then we have a sharing. Yes. Okay. How many people? Okay. All right. I've opened all the breakout rooms. You will get an invitation. Please go there and discuss. Thank you.
Everybody's out.
Great. Thank you. All right. So share, one person from the team. Share the 5 things that you decided the parent showed you in the movie.
Okay, so I'm Jitendra here and I'm from the second group. So what 5 things which we have observed. So the first was demonstration from the mother. Then second is observation. And the third is like a mother believed her daughter and hence she encouraged her.
Okay.
And the fourth is like to make connections and observations and learning from the real environment.
Okay. So
And
giving an opportunity. Okay.
Yeah. And the fifth one, the last one is preparing for future.
Preparing for future. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So giving an opportunity to prepare for future.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody from the next, another.
I'm from room 3.
Yes.
Don't have 5 things, but one of the most important things I thought was that she didn't take pity on the situation and, you know, herself or her daughter to put in the sort of a victim mode, you know, that this is how it is, but to take that as a, I mean, just literally put it aside and focus on the solution.
Focus on the solution. Okay.
That was very good. And to make the child independent and sort of self-sufficient, you know, in the thought process and implementation.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
so 2 points your group came up with. Okay.
There was one more. Ovi can contribute if she's listening.
That's okay. Go ahead, Rachna, in favor of time.
I can't remember, but you can move on.
Okay. Another group?
This is Shilpa.
Yes, Shilpa.
Yeah. We can add on here the experiential learning that the mother wanted to give to her daughter. Then be patient in this situation. Then be positive. Don't lose your hopes. And role modeling for our kids. We should role model. Like she showed her daughter that how to cut the pineapple properly. Yeah. And then confidence building and trust your child. These are the points we came up with.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Mani, did you want to share?
Yes, ours was the 8th group. Our one observation was that this family was poor. So automatically they get an opportunity they have this adversity which they're turning into an opportunity. Agar yahi parent, it was a rich family, then they would be like, एक आइसक्रीम नहीं मिल रही है, अरे हम चलो ये वाली दूसरी खरीद के ले आ जाते हैं, right? So that situation, at the same time, she's not making it a self-pitying situation. And another observation was that the mother's not giving any solutions. She asks the child to go ahead and look for a solution for herself. At the same time, she's always present. It's not that she has just left the child on her own. She's always there in the background. So those were the observations.
Okay, so my next question is, what skills do you think the child must have acquired through this experience?
Observe and learn.
Observe and learn. Okay, we can learn a lot from our environment. Great. What else?
Mona, I have a
Problem solving skills.
Problem solving skills. There was a huge problem, right? According to the child, there was a huge problem, right? Okay, so problem solving skills. Yes, and Rachna, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. What if the child here was cooperating, right, and was going with the flow? What if the child doesn't cooperate and doesn't want to do much or is not motivated? Then how do you, I mean, you could do all you can to help the child out and motivate and all of that, but if the child is cooperative, what do you do?
Then you leave them to fail. That's okay, because then they learn. Then they won't get ice cream.
Right.
That's okay. They won't have enough money to buy another ice cream.
Right.
You can't live the life for them. No, you can only be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I think we'll move on a bit. So I made a little mind map of what are some the mindset of a resilient parent, and see if you can identify that mother in the movie to have these mindsets. Do you think that the child felt special and appreciated? Was there any instance in the film that showed you that the child felt special and appreciated?
When in the end, I think when the mother is smiling at her.
Okay, appreciating her. Also see when the mother observed that the child, they didn't have enough money to buy another ice cream, so she made an ice cream for her, right? That's what triggered this whole idea of wanting to sell the ice cream, right? So that must have made the child special. The mother thought about the need of the child, right? Knowing that she wanted something, to be observant, to see. Okay. Did you see any ideas of setting realistic goals? Did you feel there was any evidence of this in the movie? Yes, no?
No, actually, there was no any setting set for the child basically.
Really?
Well, if you,
First, I think it has only 3 popsicles, and later it has a box full of popsicles.
Mm-hmm. Well, the goal was for her to go and sell ice cream, right? It was a simple goal. It was a realistic goal, right? It was difficult, but it was realistic, and it did happen, right? To set realistic goals, what do we do sometimes with our children? Do we always, these are things to ask ourselves, do we always set realistic goals for our children, for ourselves? By setting realistic goals, we are more likely to achieve them and feel successful. Right? Okay. Can solve problems and make decisions, right? Of course, we saw that in the movie also. Rely on productive coping strategies. That's another one. This mother gave the opportunity to the child to cope with the problem of not having sold any ice cream. She gave her a skill. Go observe others. See what others are doing. Look, learn, right? That will help the child further on to have this strategy where if she is in a problem, she will think of ways how she can solve the problem, right? Awareness and weakness and vulnerabilities, they are very aware of their vulnerability. They are poor, but like Mani said, it's an adversity. But so what? You know, we can't change the world. We can only change what we do with our children, right? There are so many things in the world. If we focus on that, then the children will grow up in the meantime, they'll be gone, and we'll find we've done nothing with them. So now, while we are parenting, you must have heard of all the 4 ashrams. We are in the Grahast ashram. In Grahast ashram, our job is, our responsibility is to raise resilient children. Getting children ready for what is coming next in their life, right? So focusing the time and energy on aspects that we can control, what the child can control, rather than focusing on things that none of us can control. You know, and then spending time on that, I think that is very difficult. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple more slides and then we'll end. This is very important. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. You know, what is the crux of being a resilient parent? You must have heard about Harvard Gardner. In 1993, he wrote a book, Frames of Mind, in which he talked about various types of intelligences that we are all born with. Some can be acquired, some we are born with. There are many more, but I'm only picking up 3 of these here, which is the IQ, SQ, and EQ. IQ is the intelligent quotient, which is our mental ability to grasp things, like, going to school, learning knowledge, recalling information, understanding things, and all of that. What is EQ? Emotional intelligence is our ability to be happy, to be empathetic, to feel what others are feeling, to have the emotions. Now, between these two, we find always using EQ more throughout the day, but we want to like to believe that we are using our IQ. But in schools, so you see our brain, the right brain and the left brain, the IQ and the EQ, they have equal size, right? But what are we doing today? We are spending so much time in developing our IQs and very, very little time developing the EQ. And forget the children. I think for our children to have a developed EQ, we need to have developed EQs. And emotional quotient. Children who are healthy emotionally are the resilient children. Parents who are healthy emotionally are the resilient parents. That is the key. You don't have to have an IQ of 160 that Einstein had. But if you have a high emotional intelligence, you are more likely to be successful in life because you'll know how to be happy no matter what. You'll know how to navigate through all situations. And that's what's going to make you the river that flows through all hardships no matter what. And what do you have to do to have a high E? So simple. Sleep well, eat well, laugh a lot, be with your friends, be with your children, exercise, connect with others, be positive, do your work well. And another thing that I have been practicing or trying to practice, well, I don't believe in trying, so I've been doing is breaking my day into 3 parts. 8 plus 8 plus 8, right? Because of 24 hours. 8 hours I work, 8 hours I am with my family, and 8 hours I'm with myself. If we can bring that kind of a balance in our lives, we can have a very high emotional quotient. If we are happy, our children are going to be happy. If we are unhappy, our children are going to be unhappy. If we are resilient, our children are going to be resilient, right? So we can't try to change the world or use it as an excuse. We have to change what we do with our kids. There is nothing to teach. There's only to show. So with that, I'd like to ask all of you, if you were to make a note today of 3 things that you would do to be a resilient parent, what would that be? You can write it down if you like or share it here. Can we all just take as a closing of this session, can we all please write down 3 things that you would do to be a more resilient parent?
Mona, I have written 3 points.
Okay, let's just give 10 more seconds.
Yes, thank you for that. So I can become a role model. I can become a role model. I can work and, I can avoid negative scripts that you mentioned. It happens a lot in my family. So I can help them also understand how will it affect my daughter's emotional question. At the same time, we as a family can work on our emotional question by the guidance and, the strategies that you have given. We can be aware and indirectly it will show on a child. This is what I've noted down.
Thank you, Dr. Sona. Anybody else wants to share?
Yeah, I would like to these 3 things basically. The first is I will not give any negative scripts, and then will teach my kid by the example, and I will give him the freedom to choose.
Freedom to choose. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Anybody else would like to share?
I have written my views in the chat box, but still I can just
yeah, please share. Yeah,
that.
Please share. Yeah.
That first is I would be have a more positive outlook, then more of acceptance of imperfect. This, if it comes from my child, I should learn to accept that and guide my child.
Okay.
And more of flexibility.
Okay.
So these are the three things which I feel that me as a parent should have.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing, Aparna. Anybody else wants to share?
I would want to say that, I would play more and, listen to them rather than hearing what she has to say. And I will also have time for myself, and I will schedule my time, and I will not give any negative scripts.
Okay. Thank you, Parul. One last sharing.
Work more from objectivity than from emotions.
Okay.
Worry less.
Worry less. Thank you for saying that.
And yeah, just focus on the solution.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm just going to read out a few questions for all of you in the hope that this will stay with you and you think about it throughout today, tomorrow, and in the years to come. As you become a grandparent from a parent, you will be able to see a lot of yourself in your child. Then who will be a parent then, right? So how would I hope my child describes me? Think about it today. How would I hope my child describes me? How would my child actually describe me? So there are two different questions. How do I hope? How do you want your child to describe? How do you hope that your child describes you? Oh, like an amazing parent, right? Cool, all of that. But in reality, how do you think your child will describe you? So think about that. And how close is that to how I hope my child would describe me? I hope you got my questions, but I'll read the questions again. How would I hope my child describes me? How would I hope my child describes me? That's number one. How would my child actually describe me? That's question number two. And how close is that to how I hope my child would describe me? So it comes back to your own aspirations as a parent, right? When you become a parent, what do you aspire to be? What kind of a parent you aspire to be? You want your child to see you as your aspiration, right? But does your child really see you as how you aspire to be? Or you want your child to see you as? Is there a difference between the two expectations? How big is the gap? Is there a gap? How big is the gap? How can you help to narrow the gap? What can you do about it? It's all about resilient parenting. Look within yourself, see if there is a need, or just be carefree and be happy. Maybe we'll all be a better parent if we laughed more with our kids, right? Really, just. So with that, thank you everybody. Namaste. I hope this session was useful to you. If you like, we can do a series of such sessions because I know parents need an avenue to just come together and talk. So if you like, you can send a message to Anupam or Pavan and we can organize a series of things. I had thought about it. I made a list and I'll read out to you if you like. The kind of sessions I was thinking we could kind of co-create as a group here. In my notes here, the dreams and wishes of parents, teaching and conveying empathy, communicating effectively, to listen, to learn, and to influence, changing the words of parenting, rewriting negative scripts. No, I mean, we just sort of talked about it, but how can we take it further? Loving your child in ways that help them feel special and appreciated. This is so special. This is so beautiful, right? Yeah, sometimes we think hum bigaad denge bachcho ko. Ho sakta hai, but still. Then accepting our children for who they are, the foundation for setting realistic goals and expectation. And all of that, learning from mistakes, that's another very beautiful one that we can talk about. Or teaching our children to make decisions and solving problems, right? All of these we can come up with. If you are interested, we can co-create these sessions and we can come together as a parents group and discuss these and be a support group for each other. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mona ma'am. I think all the topics are wonderful. I would like to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Darshika.
Thank
Please
you,
write to
Mona.
Pavan or Anupam. Yeah.
A wonderful session tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.